Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with a Coach, Real Talk with Real Coaches. I'm your host, Alexis Murray, Program Manager here at the CaPP Institute, and I'm so excited for the opportunity to guide you through our session today. Before we dive into our conversation with our amazing panelists, let's take care of a few housekeeping rules to ensure that everyone has a great experience. First off, we want to ask that you keep your microphones muted and to minimize as much background noise as possible. However, there will be a Q&A portion at the end, so feel free to unmute yourself, turn on your cameras, and engage with us when we get to that part of the session. Secondly, if you have any technical hiccups, please drop a message in the chat to our program coordinator, Kristen Terlitsky, and she'll be right there to assist you. And as we're waiting for everyone to join us, we're going to take a quick peek at our agenda for today. So we're going to kick off with some exciting announcements, including some details about our upcoming Coach Training Intensive, which is scheduled for June 8th through the 10th. So be sure to stick around for the end because we've got a special announcement about that. We'll also jump into our panel discussion from there, where we'll be posing thought-provoking questions about coaching to our incredibly talented graduates and panelists for today. So get ready to be inspired by their insights and experiences. Each of their stories is so powerful in their own way, and we can't wait to dig in there. And of course, we can't forget the opportunity to celebrate International Coaching Week. So let's take a moment to acknowledge the profound impact that coaches have worldwide in unlocking human potential and driving positive change. So for those of you who might not be familiar or are new to our CaPP community, we want to give you a little heads up about who we are. So the CaPP Institute is an ICF accredited coach training provider that offers a comprehensive level 1 accredited program track to help you prepare for coaching certification as well as your ACC credentialing application with the ICF. By participating in our programs, you can also earn your certified personal and executive coach designation through our two-step, which is CTI and CPEC programs. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And it all starts with our 3-day live virtual training, the Coach Training Intensive. Of course, like I mentioned, the next one is June 8th through the 10th, so we hope to see you there. Finally, before we get started, we're thrilled to announce the launch of our Advanced Professional Coach program this fall. It's been in the works for a while now, and we're so excited to offer this for our graduates. This is for anyone who's seeking to advance their coach training or who may be interested in pursuing a PCC credential through the ICF. So it's an exciting time for us. We're thrilled to offer it to our CaPP graduates and offer another step on their coaching journey. So don't forget to follow us, the CaPP Institute, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram for all of the latest news, events, and opportunities as we journey through the coaching world together. Sometimes that'll look like new programs, sometimes that'll look like free opportunities to engage with us in these formats like the Conversations with a Coach. So make sure to follow us on those platforms and stay up to date with all of the latest news. As I mentioned, International Coaching Week is a week-long global celebration of the power and impact of professional coaching. To mark this, we're holding this event and honoring some of our very own CaPP Institute graduates. And what better way to do that than to give them the platform to share their own insights and coaching successes. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the panel, and I want to welcome the graduates that will be joining us today. So Kristen's going to pop them up on the screen for us, but we have Oscar Mendoza, who is joining us from Huntsville, Texas. We have, go to the next one. There we go. We also have Dr. Jeremy Blunt, who's joining us from Louisiana. We have Francine Appy, who is joining us from Saratoga Springs, New York, who also has some exciting news about the launch of, the publishing of her new book, which we'll talk about as well. And finally, LaTondra Murray, who is joining us from Durham, North Carolina. So as we are getting started here, we of course want to thank you all for joining us, but I really want to kick this off by letting each of our graduates introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about their backgrounds and the industries in which they serve. So we're going to start off with Oscar, and then we'll go to Dr. Jeremy Blunt, then we'll go to Francine and LaTondra to round us off.
Thank you, Alexis. And Hello, fellow coaches, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Alexa said, my name is Oscar Mendoza, and I'm located in Huntsville, Texas. Um, I am currently working in the field of criminal justice. I am with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where I serve as the agency's Deputy Executive Director. And in Texas, the Department of Criminal Justice, we are more commonly known as the prison system for the state of Texas, the parole system for the state of Texas, and the probation system for the state of Texas. I've been with the organization. This year will mark my 45th year that I've been with the agency, and have thoroughly enjoyed my time and career in criminal justice. But I've discovered recently something even more exciting than a successful career that I've had, and that is becoming a personal and executive coach through the CaPP Institute. So very glad to kind of have that going now, and it's just very, very exciting, and look forward to being with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Oscar. We really appreciate having you. It's so interesting to see all the different ways that coaching can be used. So, if you hadn't considered it before, the justice system is one of them. So, next, we're going to have Dr. Jeremy Blunt introduce himself, give us a little bit more information about his background and who he serves.
Great morning, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today, all the way from Louisiana. Um, I specifically deal with relationships, and as a counselor or therapist as well, I was really interested in the coaching avenue to be able to help with a lot of the clients that came through after we deal with the counseling side of the arena, being able to help coach them through the different stages in relationships. So, specifically, a lot of times dealing with the coaching from that and how to grow together and how to acquiesce to the next levels of their life. So, that's kind of how I use coaching. And also, I do a lot of mentoring as well. So I use it in our mentoring to really teach people how to really get refocused on their life. And a lot of the principles of coaching goes along with those lines.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. Counseling is definitely a field that we see very often. So it's so interesting, and we love for the opportunity to offer additional services. So coaching might not be the only thing in your toolkit. You might offer mentoring or you might offer counseling. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jeremy. All righty, we're going to head over to Francine. Please share with us a little bit about your background. Would love to hear about your new book and some of the clients that you serve.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My background is in HR leadership. I spent about 20 years, just over 20 years in coaching and counseling and HR leadership, which I adored the profession. Then I had the opportunity to kind of transition into a second career, if you will, and I founded the company Soul Filling, which my mission is adoption. And as I was regrouping and thinking about the different skill sets that I have and the pieces of my HR world I loved, coaching came to the top of that list. But I felt in creating my own business, I needed some certifications and some validation that I was still really qualified and capable within the field of adoption as an adoption coach. So I found the CaPP Institute, and it was just a perfect fit for me. Not only amazing coaching material, but also the community and the leadership is just phenomenal. So I was thrilled to marry my HR background with adoption, and my passion is bringing to light and making the conversation of adoption more mainstream at home, work, and school, and highlighting the stories of when things just really go right. And in the positive psychology, I love that Valerie brings in that into the fold, and it just was perfect. So in light of my mission as an adoption coach, I decided I think a book would be a great way to segue into making that conversation more mainstream at home and school. And I wrote the book called Brianna's Brave Day at School, and it's based on an actual event that occurred with one of our children. I've had adoption in my family for over 30 years and personally over 22 years. So thank you so much for allowing me to bring that up. It's available on Amazon as well as my website, but it's just an absolute honor to be here and to apply my passion in the adoption community with all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's so fulfilling to see coaching work in such unique niches. I think sometimes people have this understanding of what they think coaching is, and what the reality is that coaching is so fluid and so influential that you can incorporate it into anything that you already have prior experience in, whether it's background or whether it's a passion. There's just so many different ways. And one thing that you mentioned was that positive psychology component of our curriculum. And it really is something that makes the training unique and well-rounded, so that where you're not just understanding how to help your clients, but you're understanding how to help yourself too, and to become a better person to help those who you want to serve. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And finally, and I apologize because it is Dr. Latondra Murray, who has a very unique skill set as well with how she incorporates coaching. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Latondra and let her tell us a little bit about her background and who she serves.
Thank you so much, Alexis. I'm really delighted to be here today. So again, my name is Latondra Murray. I am a leadership coach for experienced professionals, individuals who specifically need to move from doing to driving. They need to step into leadership. So I work with quite a number of entrepreneurs. I also work with intrapreneurs, so innovative individuals who are seated within organizations, be they corporate, governmental, and so forth. My background is engineering. My doctorate's in industrial engineering. I worked in human-computer interaction for quite a while in my career. So I have a background in engineering, education, and entrepreneurship. So really excited to marry those three areas together. And I think it's fascinating as I reflect on my 10 years post CTI and CPEC to really think about just how applicable my skills as a coach have been over time, not only as an entrepreneur, but absolutely in my quote unquote day job. I'm an executive in residence. I teach leadership and management to engineers at Duke University. I've done that for 15 years. And having the toolkit from CAP really positioned me for success internally as an educator and as a leader of graduate students, but also as an entrepreneur. So really excited to get into it today and talk about how I've been served through the skill set and how I've been able to make an impact, thanks so much in part to the CAP Institute.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much, Latondra. Really what we wanted to do, and the focal point of this specific conversations with a coach, was to get a better understanding of who's using coaching. What are all of the different ways in which coaching is actually integrated into work that sometimes you're already doing. Sometimes it doesn't look like creating your own coaching practice, and sometimes it does. Sometimes it's creating another stream of revenue. Sometimes it's making a transition, whether that's from retirement or just deciding that the work that you're doing isn't as fulfilling as you want it to be. So we're going to dive through a couple more questions, and really what we want you all who are listening in on is to see where are the ways in which maybe you didn't think that coaching could be incorporated, because what you'll find is that the possibilities are endless. So we're going to go ahead and dive into the next question. Of course, we are a coach training provider. We have our coach training intensive, which is a 3-day training weekend, and then that evolves into a 6-month certification program. So all of you have gone through the training in some capacity. Some of you just CTI, others of you have gone through everything, CTI, CPEC, as well as our mentor coaching. So I want to start with you, Francine, because I understand that just with the coach training intensive alone, you've done so much, and you've been able to progress in such a way that maybe somebody who already has a extensive background in a certain area or really understands their passion can just dive right in. So how have you evolved as a coach throughout your journey, whether that was starting your own coaching practice or incorporating that coaching into something that you're already doing?
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, I've always kind of been a natural coach, if you will, in terms of feeling comfortable with solving conflict and working with all different types of personalities. And in my field of HR, I was able to use that skill pretty extensively, as I said, for over 20 years. And when I sat and reflected on wanting to give back to the adoption community and really fulfill my passion, to be quite honest, I knew I wanted to do some kind of coaching with an adoption, but I never thought until I was, I think, about day 2.5 days into the coaching training intensive, that the light bulb went off and said, I'm an adoption coach. That's what I am. I'm not just a coach. I'm an adoption coach. And what is an adoption coach? So I was able to reflect on that, as a mom of 3 children, through the blessing of adoption, 22 years experience, through a lived experience. I make it very clear, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I have no intentions of getting my master's in social work, but I do have an extensive lived experience within the adoption community. And I have over 20 years of experience, within 6 different industries of practicing HR leadership. So what the CaPP Institute allowed me to do, not only some hands-on tactical skills like using that Thera and having those tools in place, but they also gave you the business development side of it. So I've never, I was a part owner in another company at another time in my life, but I never was a solopreneur, as they say. So going into it by myself, you realize you need to be a little bit of everything. So what the coaching training intensive offered, not only hands-on coaching, skills to work one-on-one or within a group, but also gave you the business side of things. And for me, that was so important to have that, those handouts, if you will, already created for you. And then, as I mentioned, that was just, just such an incredible bonus, was the people. And we all came from this common place. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I think sometimes people come to the coach training intensive already thinking that they know who they serve, but like you mentioned, it wasn't until day 2.5 that that light bulb went off. And I think one thing that we really help to focus you on is what background experiences, what passions do you have that can help shape the type of clients that you want to serve. So glad that that light bulb went off, and so glad that that was a catalyst to launch you into all of the success that you've had since. So, and that was just with the coach training intensive. That was just with 3 days of coach training. So, like I mentioned, that continues on into a 6-month certification program. Our other panelists here have gone through that 6-month program. So I'm gonna transition to you, Oscar, and just would love to hear how you've evolved throughout your coach training and how that has impacted the work that you do in the justice system with and incorporating coaching.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Coaching for me, it really started as more of a personal growth opportunity for me individually. And initially seeing Valerie in another endeavor, it really intrigued me how she taught and talked about coaching. So that led me to continue to research some more. And it ended up becoming more of a professional development tool, not only for me, but for my entire agency as well. As an agency, as a state agency, we were actively looking for different ways to reinvent not only our agency, but also reinvent ourselves as organizational leaders. And through the CaPP Institute, what I learned very quickly is that coaching is not only a good resource for personal development, it's an extremely powerful tool for professional development. So while most of my coaching today is really internal within my organization, and I've been very fortunate to get the approval by executive leadership to begin our own internal coaching program.
Wow.
Being a certified and professional coach through the CaPP Institute has allowed me an opportunity to actually acquire clients outside of my organization. So for me, coaching has given me so many different perspectives in so many different ways. It's helped me personally refine my skills. It's helped me overcome challenges as a leader, and it's also helped me maintain and focus my organizational goals. The training I've had in becoming a certified coach has really helped me become more self-aware and effective in the various aspects of not only my personal life, but also in my profession as well. And through the CaPP Institute, I've learned that coaching has helped me identify myself where I am to where I really want to be.
Yeah, yeah, wow. And how powerful is that? I think along for quite some time you have these dreams and you have these aspirations and you just don't know quite how to get there. And we love that coaching really becomes that catalyst, that, spark that helps you understand how to get from point A to point B. And then not only do you get a chance to understand how that applies for yourself, like you said, all of that personal development, then you get to go out and help others. You get to lead clients in that same way and to help them reach those same levels of achievement and fulfillment. And it's just like we said, in light of International Coaching Week, this is exactly what we love to talk about and to see. And at the CaPP Institute, that's what we want. We want our coaches to go out and continue to do the work that you do for yourselves. So it really is long lasting. And like I said, possibilities are endless. As like we mentioned, Dr. Latondra's background wasn't in anything related to coaching at all. I know, a lot of people in the tech field, so to speak, might not have considered coaching as an avenue. So, Latondra, I'm gonna head to you next, and I'd just love to hear how you have evolved as a coach.
Sure. I love this question because reflecting on this journey, the pieces fell in place, but not because I had a grand plan and vision, if that makes sense, right? Sometimes I think things evolve when we take a step and we take another step, it unfolds before us. And so, like Oscar, my initial interest in coaching was very much a personal development path. And so I learned about CTI. I was like, I can invest a weekend. If this is not for me, it is not a heavy lift, right? I've met some people, and if it's not for me,
Yeah.
then I'll know that. But I went and I loved it. And I remember at that time I was managing. So I worked at IBM for about 12 years, and then I've been at Duke for about 15 years. Initially, when I came to Duke, I was a manager. And I can remember going to CTI in 2013 and saying to my husband, I think I want to go and do the 6-month program. This weekend was so amazing. I think I want to continue this. And so that was my first step in really formalizing my education as a coach. From a Clifton Strengths perspective, learner is my number one strength. I love learning new things. I love a credential. I love the idea of do no harm because I have formally educated myself, right? And so for me, it was a great opportunity to formally learn about coaching, positive psychology, which was amazing to learn about. It dovetailed very nicely when I started doing the Clifton Strengths work. And also the business practices, right? It was a great way to learn about all three of those things. And for me, I applied my coaching skills initially as a manager with my team. So the team that I worked with at Duke that I provided, the student services team I managed, I was able to leverage my coaching skills with my employees and to support them developmentally and to give them guidance in a way that built their trust in themselves. And so that was very powerful. I then worked with coaching with my students. And so I can remember telling my boss, hey, I could coach the students and earn some hours towards my credential, but also I think this could be incredibly powerful. And it was a great way to support our students to allow them to, again, tap into their internal knowledge, into their inner knowing. I then decided, okay, well, I really love this so much. I think I'd like to apply this as a business owner. And so I have a coaching practice that I run in parallel with my day job. And it's just been a great opportunity to practice those skills, to learn more about myself, to articulate more of what I want out of this life and out of the experiences that I'm having, and to also, in some ways, reverse coach, right? To in some ways,
Yeah.
give people an on-ramp to learning more about me and how I work or how to help me grow. And so in all the ways, it's been a very powerful and positive thing, but started off as personal development, and now I'm using it at work and in my business.
Yeah, yeah. And how profound is that? I love how you said that everything just kind of fell into place. It happened the way that it was supposed to. And I think we hear that often. And it's funny, if you feel that nudge, if if coaching is just one of those things that, oh, this keeps coming up as a thought, this keeps coming up as an option, the coach training intensive is a low risk investment that really gives you an opportunity to just test the waters. Like Dr. Latondra said, a couple of days, a weekend, that's not going to take much out of you. And it might just turn into the catalyst that you need to move from point A to point B of whatever goals and aspirations that you have. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Latondra. And finally, I'm going to head over to Dr. Jeremy Blunt. Would love to just understand and get a better bird's eye view of how you have evolved and how that counseling and that coaching has kind of married into what you do now.
I'm kind of going to echo a little bit of what everyone said. It has, let me start off by saying it's evolved me in a lot of different ways, both personally and professionally. A lot of the principles, I can remember the first time seeing Valerie. I heard her at a conference, the American Association of Christian Therapists or Counselors Conference. And just listening to her, I was just like, yep, that's me right there. That's what I've been missing. That's what the element that I knew for the next stage, because I believe firmly that we are constantly evolving. And if you're either growing or you're dying, there is no in between. So you have to, and growth is intentional. So in the process of that, taking in all the information, I did the intensive, I did the 6 months, I did the mentoring. I was like, I need to take it all in because I can't give what I don't have. So
Mm,
I needed to get it to give it. And in getting it, the principles, like the main principle of curiosity and how I used it just for myself personally, it helped me to become more disciplined. It helped me to start evaluating even on a deeper level some of the things that I was working on as far as setting goals and tracking and not just waiting, but fulfilling those things. It helped me in relationships with people. Professionally, it helped me. It's not just a business owner, I still have a full-time job. So even on my full-time job, I got a promotion during the process and found myself using a lot of the principles and things with coaching them and teaching my leaders how to coach the people underneath them. Because it is a fundamental principle that they have to do in developing anyone. And I know Dr. Murray knows full well of that. Um, but also just the evolving process of how we evolve constantly in everything that we do. So that was the big takeaway from me, from the positive side to it created a new client base for me, and just the power of process, allowing people to rediscover themselves. I believe
yeah.
we have greatness inside of all of us. And the goal is to live unapologetically great. It's just the things that we experience, not allowing those things to make us harper or hold down the greatness that's within us. So coaching allows them to rediscover the greatness inside of them and allow it to come out.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Just coaching shows up in so many different ways, and unless you know specifically what to look for to the outside world, to your clients, they might not have any idea, but because you've gone through the training and you understand the research, you can help guide and direct and coach people to a more fulfilling life, and that is absolutely priceless. And so one thing really about coaching is impact. It's about the impact. If you can have that impact with your clients, then they're going to keep coming back and they're going to tell other people, and they're going to want that same experience. So what we would love to do next is just maybe talk about some success stories that you guys have. So we'll circle back. I'll go back to you, Francine. Can you share a specific example or a success story from your coaching that highlights the training that you got?
Sure. I mean, just to kind of give a broad picture of how an adoption coach myself can work. So I could coach from the standpoint of somebody who's thinking about adopting. I'm not an adoption agency, but coming from a lived experience, I can share with them, or they can ask me, right, any questions they'd like about the process of adoption, and I could give them guidance relative to that. I could be an adoption coach for someone who's in the middle of raising their family through adoption, and they have questions like, oh my goodness, I thought I did all the right things when they were younger, and talking about their story and what have you. And all of a sudden now they're in middle school and they don't want to talk about anything. Did you ever experience this? So I could share from a lived experience and kind of coach them through the process of working through raising their family. And I could also speak with birth mothers. The adoption triangle is birth family, adoptive family, and child. And from a birth, someone thinking about considering adoption as a birth mother, I could share my lived experience of what my birth mothers meant to me, and begin to share with her what that experience was like. I could connect her with my birth mothers. So as an adoption coach, I really can, kind of talk to all sides of the adoption triangle. But most recently, I mean, just last week, I had a call, and it was from a couple who had only met one other adopted person, or one other person who had ever adopted. And so they knew nothing about adoption. So that first initial exploratory call meant so much to them, from the standpoint of, they knew the next step based, what they needed to do first, right? They didn't want to Google it. They wanted to talk to somebody from a lived experience. And they were able to leave that call with 5 key action items of things to walk away and go work on. And for me, that meant the world to me, from the standpoint of giving them those tangible things. And, the other thing I'll add that I wasn't expecting, and gaining this extra skill set through the training, through the CaPP Institute, is how much you apply it to your personal life. So as a coach, you're reminded that you don't have to have all the answers. And there's this beautiful process that happens and unfolds while you're asking the right questions to get individuals to come up with their own solutions, because we all know if we come up with our own solutions, our success rate is higher in following through on that. And so it's a beautiful skill to apply in your daily living, with raising a family, with your coworkers, but also as your own individual practice. So for me, living this lived experience through adoption and wanting to be that catalyst of focusing on what's going right in your story, it's been an absolute gift.
Yeah, can't imagine the impact that that had on that family. I mean, it's, not the easiest process to go through. And so I can't imagine what that support meant for them. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Oscar, I'm going to head over to you. Do you have, or can you share with us a specific example or a success story from your coaching practice?
Certainly, thank you. I'd have to give all of the credit for my specific example or my success story to the CaPP Institute. Everything that I acquired is because of the CaPP Institute and just going through the training. From the curriculum to the content to the structure to the powerful faculty of the CaPP Institute, it helped me discover and rediscover some areas where I was professionally stuck. What I mean by that is, yes, I've been in the criminal justice field for well over 4 decades. Pretty much the only job I've really had, as I've said, I've been doing this. But what I've learned through my training and the faculty and just everything about the CaPP Institute is that you can be very, very successful in a career. And please, I hope nobody misunderstands me. I have been very successful in a career. I mean, I'm the number 2 person in my organization of about 30,000 employees.
Wow.
That's pretty successful. But what I also realized is there was still a big part missing, and I was stuck in my professional career. Well, I've been very, very successful, and I've been through various promotions, leadership positions, management positions, supervisory positions. What I was missing is being significant as a person. And you can be very, very successful in a profession and still lack something in significance as a person. The CaPP Institute taught me that being a person of significance is extremely more valuable than being a person as success. And what coaching has allowed me to do, not only being coached, by now serving as a coach, it's given me the tools to help some of my clients empower themselves, where many of my clients, they just want to be a better person and they're not sure how to get unstuck from that area that they're stuck in. And that's absolutely what coaching does. The coach doesn't do the work for the client. The client does the work. In the coaching session, the client is working. After the session, the client has to go to work. The two things I've learned is that it takes two things for coaching to be effective. It takes a client that's coachable, and it takes a coach that's effective. Through my training at the CaPP Institute, I've been very fortunate and blessed to come out of it as a certified coach with very effective coaching skills.
Oh, wow, just 40 years anywhere, I think is a huge round of applause and kudos to you, Oscar. But that is just so profound, like all of that internal work that has to be done in order to really reach the levels that you want to reach. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Oscar. I'm gonna head over to Dr. Latondra, if you don't mind sharing an example or a success story.
Sure. So, as we're talking, the example I want to share is a very practical one related to just my own preparation as a coach by virtue of the CaPP Institute. So when I finished CTI and did CPEC and successfully navigated through the 6 months of training and came out on the other side, one of the things that I wanted to do was to secure my ACC credential through ICF. And then I also did training with Gallup, the Gallup organization, to become a certified Clifton Strengths coach. And one of the things you do in pursuit of your ACC is to complete mentor hours. And so I worked with another coach and another group of individuals who'd received totally different training from me. And I was a little nervous. I kind of thought, okay, well, these people have been together, they did their training together, and now they're pursuing their mentor coach hours. I was more than prepared. I was more than prepared. I thrived in that environment. The CaPP Institute, CTI, CPEC gave me so much confidence, but so much foundational training to be able to be highly performant as a coach. I had nothing to worry about. And that was a really powerful thing to know from an ROI perspective, right? That I was not only prepared, I was more than prepared to thrive in that process. When I completed my Gallup training, the Gallup training counted towards some level of ICF hours. It was able to count. But if that had been my only exposure to coaching, I think I would not have been positioned for success, right? I think I would have been okay. But the fact that I'd done my work with CPEC, again, more than prepared, more than positioned for success, to ask powerful questions, to reflect thoughtfully, to engage my clients at a high level. I was so happy that on the other side, I had every single thing that I needed and was able to not only contribute at my university, contribute to my business, but to walk forward knowing and having the confidence that I was more than prepared to thrive.
Yeah, and that just warms our heart because we put so much into wanting to ensure that not only are you prepared to coach well, to coach effectively, but that you can also go out into the world and continue to do that work well, whether that's success as a business owner, whether that's success as in leadership or upper management, whatever that looks like, just wanting to make sure that you're set up well to be successful. One thing that Oscar mentioned was about the faculty that we have. There's so much intention put into making sure that you are led by instructors that have various backgrounds from all different types of industries and that you're well rounded whenever you take that next step. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, Latondra. And finally, we're going to head over to Dr. Jeremy Blunt. Of course, we would love to hear a success story or an example if you'd like to share. But one recent success I understand that you have had is publishing a book yourself. So if you would like to um, give us an update on how that process came to be, how coaching had any impact on you being able to fulfill that dream.
Yes, thank you. I will start with my story because it kind of evolves with the book. Um, maybe and I will say my success story is actually it's close to home because um, it involves three of my brother-in-laws and the impact on maybe last year we started doing retreats and they're like coaching. I turned them into coaching retreats. And I took about 20 folks um, to Cabo last year. And we
That's
did some
not a bad
exercises.
place to go.
Yeah. Um, but and it involved around coaching and creating a system to help them better understand what they would like to see and coaching them through how to bring to fruition the things that they would like in their lives, in their relationships, and in their business and so on. And the phone calls that I've gotten I use my brother-in-laws because I've gotten phone calls and messages from each of their wives talking about the impact of how they're different now
Yeah.
as a result of that. And we have since then birthed encounters so that we encounter each other like once a quarter just to do check-ins, where we are, what we're doing, that kind of thing, collect, as a group. But of course, we have talks in between there. But that has been the biggest success story for me, close to home. I have plenty of them in my practice. But uh, from that, it evolved into on March 1st, I launched my second book, and this one is entitled "Craft Your Love." It is available on Amazon or you can Google it anywhere just about. But it is about the 5 essential steps to building a healthy, lasting relationship. And the word craft, actually, each one of the letters is one of the 5 acronyms. And I will just say what the first one is because it is the biggest thing that I've gotten out of coaching: curiosity. Curiosity in communication and how important that is. So it has played a major part. I use the book as not just a book, but also I have a journal. So I kind of use them collectively together to coach people and walking them through the steps. And a quick second note, I have my barber who purchased my first book, purchased this one, never saw him as a client, but he came to me and he's purchased 2 or 3 since then to send to other people, but talking about how the steps of it were able to coach him through what he needs to do to help better his
Oof.
relationship or better the things that he's done. So,
Man, if you get
yeah,
the
truly
approval from
exciting.
the wives, you know you are doing something right.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you, Dr. Jeremy Blunt. Congratulations to each and every one of you. Again, your individual stories are so powerful, and we're just so proud of the success and the achievement that you all have had. So I know we are getting to the end of the hour. We do want to make sure we open up for questions. So I'm going to actually ask each of you to wrap us up with one final question. We'll try and keep this short and concise, but for everyone joining us, I know some of you may be graduates of our program already. Some of you may be interested in coach training. Some of you may have been following CaPP Institute for years. Some of you may have been following Valerie Burton for years, whatever the case may be. There's some aspiration there, right? And so what we would love is for each of you to just share, what advice would you offer to an aspiring coach who's considering pursuing coach training? I think one thing that we see with our participants at the coach training intensive is that sometimes it takes a long time to make this decision, and sometimes it's because you're uncertain or you're unsure or you don't have the confidence that you need to take that next step. And coming from all of you who have already gone through coach training and established yourselves in all of the various ways, what advice would you offer? So I'm gonna start with Francine and then go down the same route.
Sure. I would just offer the advice of there's a lot of coaching opportunities out there to get training and to get certified. It can be overwhelming sometimes in so many categories of how many choices we have. But I would challenge you to really look closely at the CaPP Institute, not only from a coaching tactical standpoint and also business development standpoint, but from a people side and from an organization with an incredible heart. I think we touched a little bit on positive psychology, and in this world today, where we're inundated sometimes with things that are not very positive, just that influence, that one additional influence on a regular basis that's weaved through everything at the CaPP Institute is that we have a choice. We have a choice of what we want to focus on every single day, whether that choice is big or small. So personally, I think the CaPP Institute is a differentiator because they challenge us amongst the chaos and amongst the frustrations and sometimes really difficult news. We have a choice to choose, and then to take that training and that thought process of choice and positive psychology and share that with the world. I don't know anyone else who's doing it. So
Yeah, thank
that's
you,
what I would
Francine.
share.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Oscar.
Thank you. I don't know if I'd be qualified to give advice. I'd like to tell people that's Dr. Phil's job, but I can certainly say I would offer you this. Something today brought you to this round table. My colleagues and I, we don't know what that is, but I feel my colleagues would agree with me on this, is that coaching has absolutely made a significant impact on our lives, not only as clients who have been coached, but now because of the CaPP Institute, as coaches who are now serving clients. It's an absolutely impactful thing to happen on your life. So whatever it is that brought you here today, whatever it is that has you stuck in wherever you might be, do your research, do your homework, talk to whoever you need to talk to. But in the end, I ask you to just keep this in mind, if you will. The greatest investment you'll ever make is in yourself. That investment, along with the CaPP Institute, will absolutely be an investment that will impact you for the rest of your life, and an investment that you're well worth.
Thank you, Oscar. That was, whew, yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Latondra.
I would just say, be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself. You have the opportunity to explore, to decide what feels right, follow those nudges. I think there's always something in the nudge if you're encouraged to pursue a particular path, and also trust your journey. I think that, I'll say the CaPP Institute is the real deal. So whether it's tomorrow, whether it's later this year, whether it's next year, whenever it might be, if you feel that this investment in yourself could be a worthy one, I want to just absolutely say it is. But trust your journey, let it unfold in its own time, and know that what's for you is for you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to put out a disclaimer here. These are not paid advertisements. Everyone is truly sharing from the heart. So thank you so much. And Jeremy.
I literally wrote down what Oscar said in prepping for what I was going to say. The greatest investment you can ever make in your life is the investment in yourself. And as someone who life is a lifelong learning process, I will close with, I would say this would be the advice. I heard this and it has stuck with me. Life is problems, but it's not just problems. Life is a series of problem-solving opportunities. And coaches are the element, in my belief, to help people learn how to solve their problems. We don't solve them, but teaching people how to solve them. And, yes, I agree. I echo what everyone else said. Do your research. But I can tell you firsthand, again, we didn't get paid to say this. I can tell you because I've gone through it. I had a business before I came to the CaPP Institute, and I was doing it before. But this added an element to my life, my business, that it has been infectious to everybody that I come around. That my life philosophy is I'm not supposed to cross paths with anybody and they be the same after I cross paths with them. That is coaching. And if you see that as who you are, then this is an investment you need to make.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeremy. I feel like that one needed a clap, a round of applause. Yeah, it's just, again, we are just so excited and proud of the graduates that we have. As you can see, they come from all different industries, all different backgrounds, and have been able to use coaching in a way that, again, is so impactful. So now that we've heard from our amazing group of panelists, we've gained some insights. It's time to open up the floor for questions. As we're wrapping up, as we spend our last couple of minutes opening up, please feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. You can raise your hand. We'll call on you if you feel comfortable taking yourself off mute. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, want to reiterate that you stay to the end. So we want to give you a couple of updates and, of course, that special announcement. So we just want to remind you that the upcoming Coach Training Intensive is June 8th through the 10th. That's a Saturday through a Monday. If you have any issues with that Monday date, reach out to us because we also have a 2-day training option. We also have an exclusive offer. So this is that special announcement for being a part of our Conversations with a Coach today, or for watching the replay. For those of you who are going to go back and listen to this later, you can use the code PREVIEW to get $100 off of your CTI registration. For those of you who might have been keeping up with our recent promotions, you'll know that the $100 discount actually just ended for our early bird registration. So we're giving you an option. We're giving you one more chance to get a discount. It's going to be the final discount of the season for our June intensive, and it's only available until this Friday at midnight Eastern time. So don't miss out on that. Of course, we want you to maximize your opportunity. And if you're going to join us, why not get that $100 off? So we will put the registration link and the promo code in the chat for you. And that'll also go out via email as well. So use that code PREVIEW, get $100 off, and join us in June for the Coach Training Intensive. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open up for questions. I haven't been looking at the chat, so I'm going to ask Kristen, if you don't mind letting me know if there were any that we missed or that
I'd
we
be happy
need to
to.
talk through.
I'm going to send you this one. This one just came through from Anne. I hit the 60-year mark this year. Any advice for me changing my career, pursuing coaching so late in life?
I'm just going to open it up to the panelists. Anybody who would like to answer, feel free.
What was the question again, Alexis?
Kristen, if you could repeat the question one more time, please.
I'd be happy to. I hit the 60-year mark this year. Any advice for me changing my career, pursuing coaching so late in life? And that is from Anne.
And what I would say to you is it's never too late to add something significant to your life. And if you've had a successful career, fantastic. Don't necessarily look at maybe having to change your career. How about enhancing your career? How about adding something to your career? How about just going from this chapter of your life to a new season as a life? And you can very much do so. You can very much do that through coaching.
Absolutely. We see people in all ages decide that coaching is the right fit for them. It can happen as a retirement transition. It can just happen as a career transition. You know, there really are no guidelines around when you get to start implementing coaching. And like we said, there's so many different ways that you get to use coaching and that it can be incorporated in what you're doing. I love what Oscar said. It really just is an enhancement. It's just the next step for you. So don't let that be a detriment. And I love what Stuart said in the chat. He said 60 is the new 40. So just think about it like, you know, you've got plenty of time. Do any of our other panelists have any comments before we go to the next question? No? Okay. Kristen, can you give us the next one?
Absolutely. This next question is it possible to have a coaching career on the side successfully? I don't want to be overwhelmed. I know that might apply to many of our panelists today.
Yeah, that's a great question, especially as you look at what your options are. You know, coaching doesn't have to be its own business if that's not what you want it to be. It's so scalable. You can do as little or as much as you like and what works best for you. I know quite a few of our panelists have mentioned that they have a full-time job and have coaching. So I'm gonna kick it over to you guys and share a little bit about what that process has been like for you.
I would 100 agree with that. It is something I've had my business on the side. From a business owner that has been a business owner for close to 10 years now, the biggest return on the investment of it to me has been, it allows me to not have the stress of it being my only source of income. And it allows me to have the freedom to really be able to give it a level of attention that I need to give it without having the stress of I gotta do it because it's my only business. That has been the just for me, and hopefully that makes sense the way that I said it, that my main source of income comes from my full time. But this allows me a freedom and it allows me a flexibility to learn, grow, and really invest in it without that other stress or weight from it. So it has helped me from that perspective.
Yeah, yeah. And anyone else? Okay. Let's see. Can you give us the next question, Kristen?
Absolutely. This is from Diana asking about the process to move to ICF certification or that credential process and advancement professionally to support your executive and professional goals at a master's level. So I think the goal is kind of how do we support coaches through that ICF credential process?
Yeah, so one thing that the ICF has recently done in the last few years is kind of update how their training programs are accredited. So the track that we have available for you now here at the CaPP Institute allows you to take all of the programs that you need that will satisfy all of the training and reviewed coaching session requirements for the ICF. If you do the level 1 track, you'll have 60 or more hours, which will meet that ACC level, which is that very first level. Like I mentioned earlier in the session, we are actually going to be launching our advanced professional coach program this fall, and that's going to be at the 125-hour mark. So for anybody who has already gotten 60 or more training hours from another accredited program, or for our graduates who have already taken CTI and CPEC, you can continue working so that you can also meet the requirements for that second level, the PCC. And one really fortunate thing about how coach training works is if you already have your PCC, you can use those hours to work towards your MCC, which is the third and final credentialing level for the ICF. So we make the process as easy as possible for you. If you do the level 1 track, you'll take the level 1 path, which will mean all you'll need to do is submit your certificates of completion. They'll sign off on it because we've already done all of the background work to make sure that that's good to go. And then they will have you do their assessment. So very smooth process. It saves you time as well as saves you money if you go through the full level 1 option. We also have the options of doing the programs individually, which is fine. That means you can do them at your own pace. And if you decide to still do all of them, then you'll still be able to apply at that same level. So we definitely try to support you as best as we can through CTI, through CPEC, and through mentor coaching. And we also provide additional support. So if you're in that process and it's time for you to start getting everything ready to apply for an ICF credential, you can always give us a call, and we're happy to talk with you and support you that way as well. I hope that answered your question. We are right at the top of the hour, so we'll hang tight for a little bit longer for anybody who wants to ask any additional questions. For anybody who has to leave because it's right at 1 Eastern, again, just want to remind you that the preview promo code is available for you to get $100 off when you register for the Coach Training Intensive. That's going to be valid through Friday at midnight Eastern Time. So you'll get that information via email as well. All righty, Kristen, were there any other questions?
That was it that I'm seeing at this time, but I'm going to keep
perfect
looking.
timing.
Mhm.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you so much for joining us for this session of Conversations with a Coach. If you're interested in coach training, if you have any questions about coach training, please feel free to give us a call. We will put our contact information in the chat. Please feel free to reach out. We're happy to talk with you about what the process looks like and if that's right for you. Thank you once again to all of our panelists for joining us today. We are immensely proud of the work that you're doing and are so glad that we have the opportunity to call you all CAP alumni. So thank you again. That replay will go out and we will see you next time for Conversations with a Coach.